Hello, my name is Jonathan, and welcome once again to the Jazz Musician's Voice. Today I've had the wonderful opportunity of interviewing jazz pianist Benito Gonzalez, a really excellent player out of Venezuela, moved here in the early 2000s and immediately started working with some of the top names in jazz, including Jackie McLean, Azar Lawrence, and Kenny Garrett. And he's had some of the top names on his records, including Jeff Tane Watts, and Christian McBride, and just the who's who. He works quite consistently with Kenny Garrett all over the world, and he's on some really great records. Really wonderful pianist that combines the intricate harmonies of McCoy Tyner and the brilliant Latin pianist styles, and he's really someone who I think will be one of the lamp bearers of this music into the future. So I hope you guys enjoy this interview. It's a little bit under an hour, and please stay tuned for future things going on. We've got some really exciting projects coming up, so look out for those and stay tuned. Ladies and gentlemen, today I have the wonderful opportunity to interview one of the world's greatest upcoming jazz pianists, Benito Gonzalez. Now, Benito, for people who are not familiar with your background, you come from Venezuela. Tell us a little bit about how you got involved in music and where you're from.
I'm from this little town in Venezuela called Maracaibo, and I was in music pretty much since I was born. I mean, I come from a musical background. My family, all my parents, uncles, from both sides, my mom and my father. So when I was 3-4 years old, I was already playing percussion. I used to play guitar, and then when I was like probably 8, my older brother brought me to the church, and I played at the church 4 years. So I was playing the organ. I learned how to play the organ.
Oh wow! Yeah.
Yeah. So that's how I became a pianist, because they brought a piano to the church, and I started messing around with it, just picking up melodies and playing. But yeah, I've been in music pretty much since I was 4 years old.
Wow, and you were kind of self-taught, right? You like you said, you worked out things. How did you get exposed to jazz?
I got exposed to jazz. I hear jazz for the first time when I was like 13 years old, really late. And it was interesting because I think it was Chick Corea and one of the tracks from Return to Forever. And then we were, I was playing with this Venezuelan band. It's like a folk music, and I like the harmonies that he was playing. I knew I could hear some of the chords, because Venezuelan folk music have some like really contemporary harmonies, but I didn't know what that was. So when I hear him improvising, I said, "Wow, okay, the piano can do that too." So after that, I started investigating more, and I discovered the whole world of music, like back to Art Tatum, Bud Powell, Thelonious Monk,
Yeah.
Herbie Hancock.
McCoy. Well, that's really amazing that you were able to kind of learn about the music on your own and explore it in that route.
Yeah, I bought a lot of CDs and a lot of books to learn.
Yeah,
I was listening to a lot of music back in the early 90s. Yeah.
And that's one of the ways that jazz musicians used to learn. Just listening to records and learning off the records. It's only recently that students learn from music programs. So
right.
I mean, that's really a commendable way to get involved in the instrument. Did you play any gigs in Venezuela, jazz gigs particularly?
Oh, definitely. That was where I learned. I mean, I used to play at the club. I was lucky to play at this club. There is like the institute for all us piano players in Venezuela. Not just piano players. I think any musician who wants to play jazz go to this club called Juan Sebastian Bar. So I used to be an employee from that club. I was playing there from Mondays through Saturdays. I did it for like 3 years, and I learned. That's how I learned so many standards, and I learned some vocabulary, and it worked out for me because I was learning a lot of music, and at a really young age. So I learned a lot of music.
Yeah, I mean, that's really wonderful that you got that opportunity. And then how did you make the transition coming to the United States? When did that happen?
Okay, I met a jazz percussionist uh, in Caracas when I was playing at the jazz club. Uh, I met it was an agent that plays. I think he was working with the U.S. government in Venezuela, and he came to the club one day with this African percussionist, and I was playing during my afternoon. I think I was playing. It was like 6 p.m. and they was sitting in there. And after I finished the set, the American guy came and asked me, "Can I play a song?" I played the vibraphone. I said, "Oh, of course, for sure." I knew he was American, but he was speaking Spanish. Obviously, if he works in Venezuela, he speaks Spanish. So he came and he brought his instrument, and after we finished, he sounded great. And after we finished, he asked me, "I would like to use your band to do some touring in Venezuela, and so we can do some concerts throughout the English schools," because he was working with the U.S. government.
Yeah.
And then he told me, "This guy right here, he's from Ghana. His name is Asante, and he plays with, he had recorded with Pharoah, Jack DeJohnette, and play also with Hugh Masekela, and he played with Paul Simon." So he was finishing a recording in Caracas that they had started in the United States, but they didn't finish it because the producer got sent to Venezuela, which was this agent from the U.S. government.
Yeah.
So they invited me to record some tracks in his record, and it was great. And then shortly after that, he came back, to the United States, and they invited me to come and do some touring with them. So, to make a long story short, when I came to play with them, he was living in Washington D.C. That's how I ended up in Washington D.C. Throughout these guys, and the band was great. It was I think it was Harold Sammy was on drums, and it was James King was playing bass. Renee McLean was playing saxophones, and I was playing the piano.
Wow. So it's we're really fortunate to have you coming to DC, because that's how you got involved in the U.S. scene.
Yeah.
Good friend of mine, Campbell Charshi, says he remembers running into you in the basements of George Washington University, practicing over there.
Yeah, I used to go to practice there because I didn't have an acoustic piano early on, so I needed to practice. I had a lot of things to learn, and I still do, but I used to go there to practice pretty much every day. Yeah, because they had they will allow me to go down and get on the practice rooms.
Wow, yeah, that's a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And you really must have shed it hard, because
I was working on many different things, but I was practicing quite a lot. Yeah.
And when was it that you came to the United States? What year was that?
It was in 2000. Actually, I
2000.
came the first time was in 1999, and then I came for 6 months, and then I went back 5 months, and when I came back in 2000, I stayed.
Wow, yeah, and you know, you won the Great American Jazz Piano Competition.
Yes.
How did that come about?
Oh, that was great. It was in 2005. Uh, Nothing. I just, when it was a great opportunity to go there. It's a learning experience, and just to share with some other piano players and from different parts of the world and or different parts of the United States. For me, it was new, I hadn't been here for that long, so I wanted to try to open some opportunities for myself.
Yeah.
So I was looking the way to see what could I do and what I was standing musically. So I tried and I won. It was great. It was great. Yeah, I feel really happy about it.
Yeah, I mean that's really a wonderful opportunity, and you got the first prize, obviously.
Yeah.
And was there any prize? Did it help you towards recording? Was there what was the real the prize? Because I know some of these competitions have recording as part of their prize. Like the monk competition, for example.
Well, no, they give me money. I got some money, and the prize was money, and they give me. I play with my trio at the jazz festival, at the Jacksonville Jazz Festival, as a headliner, which is great.
Wow, yeah.
Yeah. And also they put my tracks from my album on the Jazzies magazine, also, and it was good exposure, and up to this day, they still use that as a quote on many of my concerts and in Europe. I mean, it's great. It's great. I'm happy I did it. I didn't know what I was doing really. When I compete, I was just trying to see, how how I was doing musically. But years after that, now I realized like how a big deal that was for me.
Yeah, I mean, you definitely did the right thing doing that, and at some point you started your debut album, Starting Point, which included Christian McBride, Antonio Sanchez, Renee McLean, and Ron Blake. When did that happen? Did that happen around the same time?
Yeah. That happened in 2004, and the competition was in 2005. I definitely used some tracks from the album to do the competition, which it helps. And the Starting Point was great. Opened a lot of doors for me also. And up to this day, I always, I feel really thankful for that band, with Renee McLean and Ron Blake, those guys are like some of my favorite horn players. And Christian McBride, what can I say about Christian?
Yeah.
And Antonio Sanchez was great. I mean, all of them. I mean, that session was great. That's a great album, and I still feel proud of that one. And it's a good thing to feel that you have support from great musicians. When I was back then in 2004, I wasn't really doing much. I think I had played already with Jackie McLean, but I wasn't doing much as my own. So that was like the very first thing that I decided to do for my own, because I was playing a lot of gigs as assignment. So I got the support from these great musicians, and I felt like I could do it. So I think it's great to support the young musicians, and just to give them a push to see what they can do.
And tell us about Jackie McLean. Going back, how did you get involved with working with him?
Wow, that's a great story. When I came to the U.S., I met Renee McLean right away, and right away, Renee told me, "Oh, you gotta meet Jackie. You gotta meet Jackie." And then so I was playing with Renee McLean right away. I played with his band for a while, probably like since 2001. I think no, I played with Renee since I came in 2000. Like I remember, I played with him like 2 weeks after I came. I was already playing with his band.
Wow.
Yeah. And then I think in 2002, I got a phone call from Jackie McLean, and he asked me if I wanted to join his band. He asked me, "I'm looking for a piano player, and Renee told me about you, and I hear some of the things you have done, and I would like to know if you want to come and do an audition." So he told me to learn 2 songs, Mr. E and Little Melanie. So
wow.
I worked on these 2 songs for like a month before I had to go and audition.
Yeah.
And I remember when I went up to Hartford to audition for him, he asked me to play Mr. E, and I played it. And then he asked me to play something original, and I played Starting Point. And I remember when I was playing Starting Point, he grabbed his horn and he was playing on the solo section, and it felt so good. I felt like definitely it was like one of those moments that you will never forget musically. So after we finished, he came up to me and he gave me a hug and he said, "Wow, I love you playing. Yeah, I want you to play in my band." So I played with him for like a couple of years.
Wow, that's really a wonderful opportunity. Working with Jackie McLean, one of the top, cats on the scene. Jackie goes back well into the 50s. And he comes up in a time that, he's out of Charlie Parker.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely learned a lot. He really. He taught me a lot of stuff, like many things. Many of the things I remember are, one day he told me, "Yeah, check out Herbie Hancock and check out Margaret Miller." He told me that in the dressing room one time, and that always stuck in my head, So I was listening to many different piano players, but when he told me that, I channeled myself into that kind of sound. And he also played some piano, so he was showing me specific things on the piano that he wanted me to play on his music. And and we talk a lot about it, about many things. We talk about the jazz scene, and he would give me like great advices. It's just to stay out of trouble. That's mainly what he wanted to tell me. Stay out of trouble, and and keep yourself, true to the music.
Yeah.
And actually, the first time I played in New York, it was with Jackie McLean. I played at the Iridium. That's when I met Kenny Garrett.
Well, that's a really nice opportunity, to come into New York and already be playing at one of the highest venues. And you talk about some great cats there. We'll talk about Mogu a little bit later. Rest in peace, Mogu.
Mm-hmm.
But let's talk about meeting Kenny, because you said you met Kenny the first night you came into New York, and you're one of the long-standing members of his band. You've worked with him well over
7 years.
7 years, yeah. Wow. So tell us a little bit about meeting Kenny and the process getting into his band and working with him?
Yes, I met Kenny in New York while I was playing with Jackie that week. I remember he came several nights to check out Jackie, and then that's when I met with him, and remember we had the opportunity to talk for a little bit, and that's when I give him my phone number. I always wanted to play with Kenny, man. He's he was a top.
One of the top cats in jazz.
And Jackie, I remember backstage, Jackie, asking, "Do you met Benito? Kenny?" Yeah, and he would, like Jackie was talking about him really highly. He would say, "Yeah, Kenny's playing so much horn. He's good, man. You guys have to do something." So that was back in 2003, I think. Yeah, in 2003, the first time I came to New York.
Yeah, wow.
So, and then in 2006, I got a phone call. He actually left a message, and it was Kenny. He says, "Yeah, Benito, I'm putting a new band together, and I wanted to know if you want to play." And he says, "Yeah, well, just come over and let me see what you're doing and talk about music." So I came to his house, and we sat and talked about music, and and we find out that we had some similarities in the way we approach music, and he's coming from he played with many great musicians. I mean, Miles Davis. He played with Woody Shaw, Freddie Hubbard, Art Blakey, and actually my piano hero is McCoy Tyner, and his piano hero is McCoy Tyner too, along with Art Tatum and many others. But I know that he loves McCoy, and so we were spent a long time talking about concepts and colors. So that's when we start working together back in '06. So we've been on and off, like I remember in '08, he was doing some touring with Chick Corea. I think they had the Freedom Band or something like that. And then we came back in 2010, and we did a lot of touring from 2010 till last year. And then now we just recorded his last album, and it's great. I also Seed from the Underground. We did it in 2011.
Yeah, that's a great record.
Yeah, it's been having some good critiques. I think Kenny is for me is my mentor. I learned a lot of music from him, but he's my mentor, and I'm always trying to stay close to him, because there is we have this thing, the way we communicate about music, and it's really effortless. We understand each other musically, and I think that shows when we are playing music. So I think he's definitely one of the masters that not only me but everybody should be looking up to.
Yeah.
And
he's really one of the top saxophonists in jazz. He plays piano as well.
Yeah, he plays great piano.
I'm sure you showed him a thing or two on piano.
No. Yeah. Sometimes he will ask me, how you do this fingering, how you, but he play. I mean, improvising and conceptually, he plays a lot of piano too.
Yeah, and you guys tour the world. I mean, you guys go all over the place.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about some memorable experiences you have from being on the road with Kenny.
Oh, um, memorable. Well, there is many of them, but I will say when we play at the North Sea Jazz Festival, I think it was in '07. Yeah, 2007. I remember it was great. We play after Jack DeJohnette, and he had a trio there, an organ trio, something like that. I think Larry Waldings was playing organ, and John Scofield. And when we were backstage listening, we were like, "Whoa!" So they got off the stage, and we were just thinking, the crowd was on fire. So we start playing, and we just pick it up where they left it. I mean, and the whole concert was high energy like that. Like we were playing like 100 degrees up, high energy. I mean, it was
Wow.
it was one of the greatest concerts that we ever played. I remember, and that happened also in some other places. Like I think it was in France when we played in Marciac. I think it was in '08. I think no, '07 also. Yeah, I remember we opened for Herbie. Herbie was gonna play after, and we were just Herbie had one of the electric projects, and I remember Herbie saying that, "Wow, I don't know how you guys can play with such a high intensity with acoustic instruments." I mean, it was memorable, and there is some other experiences that sometimes like we will camp to a country. I think I remember this happened in Spain, that we will camp to the airport and our luggage didn't make it. So while we were trying to make a claim on the airport, when we have to go, it's time to go straight to the gig. So we have to play the gigs with the clothes we had on, and with some different symbols.
Wow.
So we've done that a few times, I remember.
Yeah,
but
yeah.
that one time in Spain, it was really memorable because we went literally straight to the stage from the airport.
Yeah, that's a stressful experience, but
Yeah.
also a beautiful opportunity
Oh
to
yeah,
play.
yeah. The thing with the Kenny's band is that once we start playing the first note, you just forget everything. The music has a magic. And he's a great master. Yeah, the music has a lot of strong message behind it.
Yeah. And, during this whole time, you've worked with a lot of other great musicians, such as Azar Lawrence, Myron Walden, Christian McBride, Tane Watts. Tell us a little bit about Azar, for example.
Wow, I met Azar in 2007 in LA, I think in January 2007. I was playing with Kenny in Catalina's, and Azar came backstage with the saxophone. And I saw him, but I didn't recognize him because I remember his picture from the McCoy Tyner quintet from 1975, 76.
Yeah.
And then, but he came and he shakes Kenny's hand and said, "I am Azar." Oh, and then that when he said his name, I was like, "Wow, that's Azar Lawrence." And we were talking backstage for a minute, and then I remember Kenny brought him up to sit in with us, and he played a couple of tunes, and he sounds really strong. I already had a report from those McCoy albums. So after that, I think I run into Azar again in New York. I was playing, I think, with, I was playing where? It must have been probably at the Sing Bar. And Azar came, after I finished, he came and told me, "Hey, how are you?" I recognized him this time. And he says, "Yeah, man, I love your concept and you're playing. I would like to know if you want to play with me." and we've been playing together, ever since like '07.
That's really great,
Yeah.
He's such a power-heavy musician as well.
Yeah,
really
yeah.
getting into the
Yeah,
channeling of the masters, Train, and Wayne Shorter, and a lot of those.
yeah, like his
top
band,
cats,
he it's really effortless to play that kind of sound. He uses Billy Hart on drums, and Jeff Watts also, and we use Nicholas Payton on trumpet, Esiet on bass. So he has the way to find the musicians that he needs to keep his sound together, because he has a sound, and those guys really understand where Acer comes from. It's not just about calling good musicians. There is so many great musicians, but you have to call the musicians who understand where you're coming from, the sound. That's what Acer does really well.
Yeah. And let's talk a little bit now about your influences from McCoy, because a lot of people say you are a Latin pinch McCoy, so to speak. I mean, you get a lot of influences from your time being in Venezuela, but then mixing that with McCoy, and that creates its own style and your own unique style. So talk a little bit about how you incorporated McCoy's playing into your playing, because I know that's a big influence on you.
Yeah, I discovered McCoy in Venezuela throughout another piano player who really who I learned from also. When I moved to the capital, from my hometown, I met some great musicians, Venezuelan musicians, like there is this great piano player, Francisco Morales, who taught me a lot of piano. Julio Mendoza, great trumpeter. And then also there was he is still in Venezuela. There is a Cuban pianist who is related to Chucho Valdez. His name is Pepe Valdez, who is like a jazz pianist, and he has a great technique, and he's a gifted musician. So I already had a high standard to fall into. It was hard to start playing jazz piano in Venezuela during that time, because those guys were playing really hard. Like I remember going to see Pepe Valdez playing solo piano, and that's what I was, checking out most of my time in there. And Francisco, who is a gifted pianist, also, he was playing all over with everybody, he was playing all the gigs, and he played on such a high level. So I realized if I'm gonna do this, I'm gonna have to practice, because I quit law school for 2 years, so I needed to. If I wanted to play the piano, I have to really put my heart into it. So when I met Francisco, we were roommates actually in Caracas, and one day he showed up with these cassette tapes. I remember he gave me 2 cassette tapes. One, it was mix. I think the mix, I remember, I still have those tapes somewhere, but I think one of them, he had Gonzalo, Kenny Kirkland. I remember exactly. He had Stanley Jordan albums with Kenny Kirkland, Charnett, and Tane.
Wow. Yeah.
And he had Gonzalo Rubalcaba and some other Latin stuff. I think Paquito de Rivera, some stuff. And one tape, he says, check out this piano player. And when I put it in, it was McCoy Tyner solo piano. And but he gave me another tape. He gave me Now He's Sick, Now He's Up by Chick Corea also. And I think he gave me like 3 or 4 tapes. So, but when I check out McCoy, I realized that there was a world that it was opening for me in my ears, because I really liked the sound and the way he was playing. I think he was playing Afro Blue solo. After that, I couldn't really get out of it. I mean, that was for me, you know. And then I used to hang out with this trumpet player, Julio Mendoza, who had all McCoy's albums. And, he taught me a lot of music. He said, you gotta check out McCoy, the real cats, McCoy, Bud Powell, Charlie Parker, Art Tatum. Even we went back, we were checking out like Scott Joplin, Louis Armstrong, we went for decades, like the 20s, 30s, 40s, 60s, 70s, 80s, up to So that's how I learned.
Wow. Yeah. And talk to me a little bit about your concept. Let's talk about piano playing for people watching this and kind of want to know some of your approach to piano. Talk to us for a young musician who is watching this, some advice you might have and some of your concept.
So piano concepts. I think every musician, not just a pianist, should have some good ear training. I think that's the key. Have some really good ear training, because on the end of the day, what you play is what you're hearing, really, what you can hear, naturally. I recommend to my students and to the students that I had, I've done some master classes, is to listen a lot and train your ear, to because that's basically what you play, Yes, of course, we gotta practice the instrument, we gotta do technique, and we gotta learn concepts, and we gotta learn the, language. But the ear training is the key to be able to play and to be who you are, The ear training is that because that's the only way you can really translate who you are through your instrument. So my advice is to you train your ear to channel who you are, and of course practice a lot, practice and check out the concepts, and the styles and the different decades and the way they used to play in the 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, because it changed a little.
Yeah, and for you really set a good example for students who maybe are not fortunate enough to be able to go to music school and learn in jazz programs. You kind of came into the music on your own in a different way, and talk to us a little bit about if there's someone watching this around the globe who wants to get involved in playing jazz, how they do it, how they get to where you are, or how they aspire to be like you.
Well, I think it's important to find yourself, because I was fortunate early on to know that I wanted to be a musician, and I wanted to do it for a living, and then but later, my brothers and my sister, they went to college and they finished, and they had their own careers. So I was like brought up, so it was like I needed to go to school in order to to be an adult. So that's how I started law school. but
Yeah.
I found out that
That wasn't your
that
thing.
didn't work,
Yeah.
and I just kept playing music. So I think my advice for any musician around the world is that, you know, if that's what they really want to do, they have to really like go for it 100%, 150%, yeah, 200%. Just do it and just find the way to be at your best every time. Like practice, as long as you can, and do it at its best. And that's that's the only way. That's the only way to be able to channel that, especially if you are really young. If they're really young, 15,
Yeah.
it's hard because uh, you know if you don't go to college for like something like administration, or like to 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 have a career other than music, I think the society kind of like make it seem like you are doing nothing, up to this point. Sometimes I run into people and they ask me, so do you go to college? And when I say no, I didn't go to college, I'm a pianist, I'm self-taught, they think that it's weird, and they think that I'm nobody because I didn't go to college.
Yeah.
So I think my advice for young musicians is that they have to do it at its best, at its highest level they can, to show that that you still can be a self-taught, or you can just learn in your own, or just take lessons, but you still can make a living decent by playing music.
Yeah, I mean, that's really great advice. And yeah, I mean, it's unfortunate the way some people think, but what I've come to see, and I'm sure you'll agree, is that jazz is like a brotherhood. It's like a unique society that some of the most intelligent and smart and hardworking people.
Yeah.
And not everybody can understand that, but you certainly demonstrate giving it your all. You're doing some really great stuff, and being successful. And let's talk a little bit now about your second record, Circles, because that's your second album, and you've got some really great musicians on there. Ron Blake, Myron Walden, Azar Lawrence, Christian McBride, Tane Watts. Tell us a little bit about your concept behind that record.
Yeah, Circles, it was really important to me, especially after done when after I did Starting Point in 2004. I didn't do any other recordings. I mean, I did records as assignment, but no, as a leader. So when in 2009, I had the opportunity to go in the studio and to do Circles, and it was important to me because I had a lot of conceptually I had grown a bit since 2004, and it was great to like finally put my thoughts and the colors and all the music that I had to that point, and not just put it together, but using the musicians that I knew were gonna be a good match for that sound. And it was a learning experience for me because I put it together, and I had fun doing it, and the guys really brought their best, like Jeff Tane Watts and Christian McBride. They really had that sound that I was looking for. And when I combined Azar with Myron Walden and on alto, Myron Walden playing alto, Azar tenor, and also Ron Blake playing tenor, it was great. I think I couldn't ask for better. It was a great session, and that record make a lot of noise and good reviews. So I'm looking forward to some more.
Yeah, and you got some future projects, I'm sure, in mind. And now let's talk about Mogu Miller, because unfortunately, Mogu was a great influence on me and you both. And I remember he was nice enough to come to my senior recital, which you were playing on at William Patterson. And he sat in the audience, and he always thought very highly of you. And you mentioned to me that you recently talked with him. Tell us a little bit about your conversations with Mogu and your time with Mogu.
Wow. Yeah, we definitely gonna miss him. Yeah, I mean, last time I saw him, it was last year in September. Yeah, remember, it was right after I came back from Detroit. I was playing at the jazz festival in there, and then he was playing at the Jazz Standard, and trio. It was Rodney Green and Ivan Taylor, and after he finished his set, we were sitting at the bar. We were speaking for a long time, probably like over an hour, and many of the great advices he gave me that I could remember. He was talking to me about when he came to New York and all the sacrifices that we had to make to 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 be able to have a stable life, as a human being, and we were talking about that for a long time. He was telling me that, that so many things we have to go through, and I remember, we were saying, well, but it's worth it because we all love the music, and we have a purpose for it. And then we also was talking about the musicians that they sound so good and not many people know them, and so we also were mentioning the fact that he had recorded with so many people and he had influenced so many people, and why the media isn't he didn't get that much recognition from the media and from the jazz world.
Yeah,
and he was saying that he wasn't really interested in getting that. Like, his major satisfaction was when he was playing and the way he was feeling while he was doing it. And he was different. The way he was talking about it, he was, but I understand, and I feel the same way. I think that for me, I feel the happiest when I am playing, whether the media will recognize it or not. So he was saying that he was, he was satisfied with who he was, and and it shows, because when he was playing that night, he played some really incredible things. So
he certainly was a great musician and very humble.
Oh yeah.
But definitely one of the greatest jazz pianists to ever grace the planet.
Totally, yeah. I think he's one of the most influential piano players from the last 20 years, I will say. Yeah, I think he influenced not just piano players, but all kind of musicians. I mean, and his touch, I can mention so many things. His melodies, I mean, he was so lyrical. And he could be technical too, because one of the first things I hear of him, it was a solo piece. I think it was all folks. It was. I think it was part of. I'm not sure if it was one of the Art Blakey albums, or or Woody Shaw, but he was playing they give him a solo piece, and he plays a lot of piano. I mean, technically, so he had a lot of different aspects of his playing that made him so rounded.
Yeah.
He was a complete musician. Yeah, and that's how you influence so many people.
Well, thank you for talking to us about that, and let's talk a little bit about your thoughts about the music. Where you think your own personal music is going, and where you think the future of jazz is headed.
I think my music it becomes from from experiences that I have, my personal music. Um, it changes like from time to time. It changes a lot. So where it's going, I think is as long as I am living, I'm gonna try to do it as best as I can, and just to just to just to push it a little farther from where I am, and I feel lucky to be part of this movement. I mean, having the opportunity to working with like Jackie McLean, you know, when he had like on his band like piano players like Larry Willis, Cedar Walton, you know, uh, many Mulgrew played with Jackie in the
Yeah.
late '80s. Um, many, and also with Kenny Garrett, with having the history of piano players like Mulgrew also played with Kenny, Jerry Allen, Kenny Kirkland, Carlos McKenney, you know, really made me understand the way to approach this music and where it comes from, and and it's all part of a movement. There is a movement of of, of music that 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 you become part of, and I feel fortunate to be part of that, and also feel fortunate for that, for them to allow me in to that world. They allowed me into that world, like Kenny, for example. He's been really like a big part of that movement, and I always will be thankful for him to allow me into the world of that movement, and that's what I am doing, and that's what I'm gonna keep doing. Mulgrew is gone, Kenny Kirkland is gone. I mean, I think that it's our, you know, we have to be responsible for keep doing it as best as we can, and keep pushing it to the next level.
Yeah.
We gotta take it to the next level, and every time just do it, and do it seriously, and as best as we can, and the music world, well, I think it's good. I think that there is so many great young players that are doing good job, in music. I mean, great young piano players now, and good musicians. I think that as long as they keep doing it at as highest level as they can, I mean, you know, of course, sometimes it's hard when, for example, this generation of musicians like Kenny Kirkland, Mulgrew, um, Jeff Kizer, um, I would say Kenny Garrett, Terence Blanchard, even Wynton Marsalis, Bramford. Um, they play with the masters, you know. They play with the masters who really they were creators. They changed this music, so they had directly influence from the masters. Like, you know, like if you play with Miles Davis, for example, or if you play with Art Blakey, you know, like Margaret did, or Woody Shaw. Can you imagine? Woody Shaw he's a force.
Mm-hmm.
He totally changed the way the trumpet was playing. When you play with those masters, it really you know hit you. It's like you it transformed who you are, you know. So I am, you know, thankful, you know, to work with, like, at least with Kenny, that came from that, or, you know, Jackie McLean, who really changed this music also. But the young players now that don't have that opportunity, you know, I guess it's it's a bit complicated, because all you can do is just playing true to yourself, and but it's hard when we put labels into the music, when we say, you know, I am on the jazz scene, or I am on the European scene. It's complicated. I think we just should call it music, because when we say jazz, or, for example, or American music, Black American music, like Nicholas Payton said, you know, it's complicated.
It's exclusive.
Yeah, it's complicated because to really play the music, you really have to go through some stuff. Like, you really need to know some things, that to feel part of the movement. It's a movement, and I think that is important. It's important for people to understand that, and I hope also that we can call it Black American music. I do hope so. You know, I think the problem is deeper than just call it Black American music. It's like an identity. It's an identity problem within the Black community. You know, because, you know, they were brought here from Africa, and, you know, they lose the identity totally. You know, but that's a huge discussion. You know, we can really get into that. Yeah, we might gonna spend a long time talking about it, but if they could call it Black American music, I agree 100%. I think that is the best. You know, jazz is kind of like a racist word, and you know, I totally agree with that movement, and I hope that it could happen. You know, I really hope so.
Well, Benito, thanks so much for sharing your great knowledge and insight. And where can people check out your music and
Sure.
check you out?
And go to my website, benitogonzalez.com, and also in iTunes, Benito Gonzalez. You find all the records in there. And also check out the last records of Kenny Garrett. Also, I am on sketches of MD, Seed from the Underground, and the new record coming out in September. I don't think we have the title yet for that, but anyway, but check it out. I know, you know, you might gonna like it.
It's really great.
Thank you, man.
Okay, thank you.